I remember the first 100+ unit deal we did.
Okay.
And it was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this.
You guys in for a treat today. We have special guest Tyler Deveraux. He's a beast. He owns over 3,500 units, $400 million in real estate, and owns an 8-figure coaching program. And the biggest flex is his students have acquired almost $1 billion in real estate. So stoked to have you on board. Welcome to the show, bro.
Daniel, appreciate it, dude. Thank you for the hospitality and having us here, man. We've been driving around, by the way, we've been driving around in Daniel's Lambo last little bit, and I just feel cooler. It's awesome.
A little inspiration. I mean, it's a funny story. Actually, when you just got off the plane, so I'm gonna give away some of your things over here. Is
Sweet.
You were you did a mission trip a long time ago for 2 years. You're a Mormon, right?
Yep.
And so you met some other Mormons over there, and you mentioned to me that they are struggling a little bit on like when you first start, you have no money.
Yeah.
And so like I know you said you give them a little bit of money just to help them get started in their journey, and to me that just kind of shows like just the kind of person like the way who you are. You know, like I just love that part. So.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, the missionaries. I did a 2-year church mission, and you're just so poor. Like you're just so poor during it. I remember many times where like literally I just mac and cheese or ramen, like that's all. And so anytime I see him, I'll go and give him some money. And yeah, I just done that before you pulled up. And then what I told him is so they're already like grateful. And then all of a sudden you pull up and pick me up in a Lambo. They're like, wait, what's your YouTube, bro? What's your YouTube?
But I mean, like to me, it's kind of like so knowing you like in the short period of time that I've known you, you've been just like a generous person overall. We went to your 3-day event. The way you speak, the way you encourage your team and the people around you, just been super inspiring. And so super excited to unpack your story today and just like how you got where you are and what you've accomplished.
Love it, man. Let's dive in. I appreciate that.
So I mean, we'll circle back to the mission trip a little bit later. But tell us what were you doing before real estate, and then how did you kind of get started in real estate?
Yeah, man. So I feel like real estate almost found me because I would have never, like growing up, I would have never been like, man, I'm gonna be that dude who. It just wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah.
But there's certain periods of my life and certain things that happen the more you tell your story, the more that you actually look back of how the story was created. You know, which is why I love doing podcasts like this.
Yeah.
But man, I always felt this sense of responsibility that it was my job to change the financial narrative for my family. I still feel like that, like that weight. And that's a beautiful weight. And so I've always been curious about wealth and always looking for certain things.
So growing up, was it a struggle? What kind of upbringing did you have when you were starting out?
Yeah, middle. I mean, I grew up middle to lower class.
Yeah.
If my mom's listening to it and she hears me say lower class, she'll be pissed.
Okay, I got you.
So middle to upper, depending on who's grading the class. But man, it was, there were struggles. You know, a single mom, she raised 4 kids. And I had a front row seat at cars getting repossessed, foreclosing on homes, and food in the pantry dwindling. Like I had a front row seat. My mom is a beast. Like my mom is
raising 4 kids by herself is no joke for sure.
Now I look at all that she did because she didn't miss any games growing up, and she's just always there, but always like she provided. You know.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a challenge. But that challenge, like that's the foundation for me. There's certain times and periods where like I saw the challenge and I saw I knew my mom needed help and I wasn't in a position to help. That broke my heart.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be in that position again. So that drive, that drove me to
So from the very beginning, you kind of had like this drive or like this weight that you wanted to change, like you said, the future of your family. And so that was kind of like the impetus to kind of start that whole journey down either wealth building and whatever it is, whether it's real estate or stocks or business or some form of passion.
Totally. Yeah. So I started so I did the 2-year church mission.
Okay.
And then I started my first business at 16. It was like cleaned people's blinds. Awesome little business. Went on a mission, then I came back and I got a sales job.
Okay.
And that sales job was almost a form of embarrassment for me because I looked at sales as convincing people to buy things they didn't need, you know?
I felt the same way when I first started in business too, yeah.
It's interesting. And then I started looking at the people that are the top of the top, and it was not the case. It's service-based. And so I fell in love with it, man.
It's such a huge mindset shift, I think, for sales. I think when you first think of a salesman, you think of like the used car salesman who is just trying to sell you something that you don't need, right? But the real sales is you're just opening people's eyes to something that they do need and helping them to connect them with it, right?
Making it easy. Like how I look at it is you're connecting the dots and you're making it easy for them to say yes or no. And that is high level communication. I really look at sales as high level communication, making people feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations, which is one of the most high level valued skills I believe anybody can learn in business is that.
100% agree. 100% agree with that.
So that was my foundation, man. And then I started a web design, web hosting business.
Okay.
And, dude, it was good. You know, I made money, but it was a grind, and I'm in front of a computer all the time, and I didn't love that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what that did for me. That opened my eyes to entrepreneurship again at a different level. It enhanced my confidence, but it also made me so I wasn't reliant. Like everybody else that I was working with in these sales jobs, they were reliant on that. If that was gone, they had nothing.
You see, I mean, that's one of the dangers too. I think I see like even sort of like starting out investors or agents is they call it commission breath, which is like it's you have it's like a do or die thing where like if you don't make the sale, like you're not going to eat or you're not going to provide for your family. So like you really are pushing more to make the sale as opposed to like when you have like the stability or the income. Now it's like you really can be like serving or altruistic or like if like you really give them the yes or no, or if they don't buy from you or they make the decision, you're still okay with that, right?
That's exactly it, bro. And what was crazy with me is. Because I pushed less, it wasn't just a push. It was more of almost like a pull. Like, hey, man, I'll pull you if you want to be pulled. You know? I sold more. Because and this goes with anything in business, man. If you're, in the real estate business, raising capital, or you're dealing with a broker or anything, even if people want to buy what you have or want to invest in what you have, if you feel needy, they're going to sense that. And I didn't feel needy, or I really wanted to make sure that
you generally were not needy. That's why, right? So
I mean, I still needed it. Like I still needed the income, but it wasn't like I wasn't going to not have food, So
I mean, that's a really good lesson. I think just like in life and sales in general is like the person who needs it the most always gets like the best deals. It's kind of crazy, right? Like just like the aura or like the thing that you give off. So sometimes it's like so like microscopic or subconscious, but then just like knowing that you don't have to make the sale or knowing that you don't have to like take the capital, like it just people are chasing you as opposed to you chasing them, right?
That's what I feel like. That's when I learned abundance. Like I understood and started to learn what abundance really means. And abundance is knowing that you're gonna have enough. Knowing that if this person says no, it doesn't. There's another person behind him. And it doesn't mean that everything hinges on this one person or this one deal or this one thing. It's like there's more coming around. It's where I learned abundance. And I believe that is also powerful because I believe that then you start to attract more abundance. So I'm grateful for that.
It's kind of like, it's a cycle, like it kind of like snowballs in itself, right? Where like the more you think that the world has to offer, the more that's available, the less likely you are to kind of be like greedy. But so the more you give, then the world just kind of gives more back to you just because it's like this spiraling cycle going upwards, right?
It's why the rich get richer, man. It is. It's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And it's because the rich, they get to a point where they don't need and because of that, they gain more. So if you can change your mindset to a point where, and just literally convince yourself that you don't need it, that you want it. There's a difference between a need and a want, man, because needing it is actually a form of scarcity. Like that's a form of scarcity, but wanting it now because I want it, now I'm going to go do what it takes to get it, right? It's more, I look at it as more process related. Like, no, it's there. I want it. I can have it, but there's a process to getting it. And I'm going to go through the process. So now I start focusing on the process. And that's all fine and good until a challenge hits and challenges that, right?
100%.
And that happened to me right before we had my little boy Paxton. I lost my biggest contract, my biggest web client.
The web design.
It was a lead source that, and we don't need to go into details, but I lost that client. I got swooped. Somebody swooped it.
Oh, wow. Right? Okay. So that. So
yeah, but I mean, hey, don't hate the player, hate the game,
It's almost like a blessing in disguise now when you look back, right? Like at the time, it sucks. But then looking back at that journey, you're like, thank God that happened because I wouldn't be where I am today, right?
Hey, that's it. And in that moment, I did not have that perspective right out the gates. It's more challenging to have that perspective in the moment.
100%.
But my wife comes home. And so we had just found out we were going to have PAX. And the only thing I ever knew is that I wanted to be a dad. Like, that's it. But I knew the type of dad I wanted to be because of how I grew up. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, we're about to have a baby. It's my job to provide, and not just provide financially. It's my job to provide, dude, temporally, spiritually, emotionally, intellectually. And that requires time. And I felt like just so unbalanced all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Especially losing the contract. Britt comes home and I was dreading it all day. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to tell her that, because it was a blow. And her comment was, and once again, I'm just dreading the conversation. She says, "Oh, what an idiot! Oh my gosh, what an idiot! Now you'll figure it out. That's just who you are." And then walked back. Like, it was like not even like, she just dusted it off her shoulder and walked back in the room. And I was like, oh shit. She like, okay.
She believes in you, right?
Yeah, so that's what I needed in that moment. I didn't need her to be like, well, we got a kid on the way.
Yeah.
You better figure it out. She poured into me and she breathed life into me in that moment when I needed it the most. And I'm very grateful for that, man. And so it gave me the confidence that I could actually figure it out.
I mean, I love that dynamic. I think like when this really underestimated part of business is your significant other. So like I've seen like different dynamics where sometimes the significant other actually pulls or sucks away the energy, right? And so like now you have less energy to spend at your whatever that you're doing. Whenever like the spouse, like whether it's a husband or wife, they add to your energy. Now you have like double the amount to kind of give out or pour out into like whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? So
bro, huge. I believe it's, dude, the most important aspect of business, one of, if not the most important aspect of business, because business is challenging.
Yeah.
At any level, at any scale, there's challenges and there's sacrifice that comes, you know, to this day, there's definitely sacrifice. There's times where I've got to travel or go do something. And, you know, it's easier for me because I know why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm in the mix and I see it. There's a real big level. There has to be a real big level of trust on the other end. And that comes from earning the trust, but it also comes from clear communication. And it also comes from somebody who, dude, loves purely. Yeah. And she just wants the best for me. She knows that if I were to just be home and doing nothing, I wouldn't be happy. Like I am my happy. I'm a better dad and a better husband when I'm freaking crushing it at work. Like crushing it at work.
I feel the same way. I mean, it's funny, when I first started this journey of investing, my plan was to just like retire at like a passive income and live on the beach. But after like actually reaching that point, I was like, there's no way I can ever retire. I enjoy building, I enjoy growing, I enjoy doing this thing, you know? So like, if I was to just stay at home and just be like do nothing, I would be a terrible like husband, I think. So
bro, totally. We moved to Maui with this thought of like, okay, man, I'm just going to coast. I'm just going to chill. I'm good. It was like literally a month, maybe two. I was like, oh man, what's like, I'm like itching, you know, like what's next?
Yeah.
So I agree, man. I believe that true happiness is continual progression. How do I continue to
How can we grow as people, right? Like in all aspects of our lives, whether it's business, whether it's our faith, or with our relationships. And
that's it. Because man, if I have this skill set where I can, whatever the skill set is, if I have the skill set of growing a business, I have the skill set of literally whatever your skill set is, and I don't utilize that to help maximize the lives of other people, that's selfish. That's selfish, right?
Yeah,
literally, that's how I view it. So it's like, man, if God's granted me with this gift, whatever that gift is, you got to amplify that thing, or else you're being selfish.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's almost like that. This where we both read the Bible, right? There's that story where God's like, "Hey, we give you these talents, and like if you just take them and you bury them in a hole, like you're like a terrible servant, right?" But He's giving you these gifts so that you can like multiply them and amplify them and like make the most out of them while you're here on earth, right? So
that's it. And it's if you think about that, the one that buries the talent, that's scarcity. It's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's why does He do that? Because He's nervous to lose it.
Yeah.
Because He feels like the value is there. The value is not there. The value is here.
Yeah.
As you, 100%. As a person. And God wants you to know that. So God wants you to know, like the more that I give, this is why I love, like we talk about, you know, starting out and giving money away. Yeah. The more money I give away and then I see it come back, the more abundant my mindset is. Because it's like, man, the more you give, the more I look at it almost like it's almost like I'm a funnel, if you will, right? So it flows through. So money comes and flows through, and it's my job to make sure that I attract it. I believe it's Britt's job. She's the one who really like makes sure that we utilize it in the best areas. But it shows abundance because I know that there's always going to be a flow as long as I don't back up the funnel here. And I start to hoard it. The minute I start to hoard it, the minute that flow stops.
It's just healthy, whether you're a Christian or not. Just like the act of just giving just unlocks something inside of your brain, right? Or like just the whole abundance mindset, I think, and just like and your purpose becomes bigger, so you're getting so you can give more, right? It's like it's just like it's just super healthy, and it's crazy because when I first started like investing, I thought like rich people were like hoarders and bastards. Like I was like, rich people are like they're collecting and hoarding. That's how they got rich, right? Because that's like the logical standpoint to kind of take. But the more I meet guys like yourself or other investors or people who are successful, they're like the most generous or giving like that people in the world. It's like, but then they always start that way. So like when they didn't have money, they're still giving. So when they did have money, they're just giving more. So
that's bro. What you just said, I believe, is key because so many people. It's like, man, once I get here, then I'll do. But you can give and serve at any level, and when you do give and you do serve, you actually realize that you have things to give.
Yeah,
and that helps you mentally too, man.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a small bunny trail. So like you had the moment with PAX. So like it came to a point where like you had to make a decision or do something different. Was that how you got like? What was the journey from there?
Then I was trying to figure stuff out, man. So I wish it would have happened that quick, but I started to just try to figure stuff out. So I'd go to these different conferences and I would go and network and try to build a network. And I'm just trying to figure stuff out.
Okay.
I have some single family properties, but it was a grind. And I knew like, I never saw the scalability behind it. I did it because it made good money. Yeah. And that was awesome. But I really never saw like the end game to it. But apartments were never even on my radar. Like I literally, not even on my radar, bro. So I'm still trying to like grow and scale my internet business because that's what I knew. I knew that in and out. Social media, internet marketing, website design. Like I knew that in and out. And so I'm trying to figure that side out. And I was traveling a lot. And it was leaving a lot on Brits. And it was almost like we were separating. We weren't growing closer together. We were growing farther away, not because of any other reason except, dude, I'm just trying to figure things out here to make sure. And so sometimes your why becomes
an afterthought kind of like, I mean, you had the best intentions where you're trying to provide for your why, but then now like because you're so much time focused on this, now your attention and focus is kind of dropping from this section, which is, I feel like we've all experienced this like at times, and it's always like a balance, right? It's never like perfect. It's always like you're always trying to balance left and right as far as like the business and family time, the same thing, right?
That's exactly it, man. It's like all of a sudden what you're trying to accomplish is actually hurting what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But this is where a spouse is where Britt personally for me has been so powerful because she's willing to have tough conversations right when I need them. And
that's a really good wife to have. I think like there's certain wives who are like, who will just let things go and not say anything. And there's certain wives who are like, just get angry at everything. Right. But there's like, if you can have the tough conversations with the other person when they need it and when it's like, it's uncomfortable for them as well too, like, both parties get better from it, I think, Yep.
And that's in your relationship with your spouse. I believe it's with the relationship with your kids. I believe it's relationship with team members, partners, employees, all the above.
100%.
Having the tough conversation because she's not having this conversation with me. And we've had multiple of them. We literally just had one recently, and it's not out of anything but love. It's like, hey, I don't know if you see this, so I'm going to bring it to your attention. And I know that I believe in your ability to figure stuff out. But I also want you to know that this may not be that exact way. Because sometimes you get so hung up on this direction that you almost put blinders onto anything else.
I think as entrepreneurs and like as problem solvers, that's how we are, right? We focus on one thing and we just want 100% on this. Then we don't see our blind spots, right? And so we need somebody to come alongside us and say, hey, open up like your blinders a little bit and see that there's something that's going on over here. But for us, what makes us good actually is because we can just focus and just go 100% all our energy to here. But like that's also like a blessing and a curse, right?
Bro, so, yes. It's like, it's not hard for me to work hard. I literally enjoy it because it's hard for me to scale back and see it. And she helps me do that. And so it's crazy though, because she had this conversation with me and I was like, man, I felt like I was just starting to make traction. I felt like I was but in reality I was making traction.
Yeah.
But at the cost of what? And listen, man, that is what happened with my parents. My dad started a business when I was 12. My dad is a good dude and I love him. But he started that with the best of intentions. But the best of intentions can get blurred if you don't truly know your I call it a definite major purpose. I've learned that from Napoleon Hill, but definite major purpose. And my definite major purpose is time with my family. Like it comes threefold, but one of those is time. And so anytime that I see something that's jeopardizing that root principle, that root core definite major purpose of mine, dude, I got to pivot.
Yeah.
And so it makes decision making easier. And so when she says that now, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, I see that I'm hyper focused here, and I gotta. It's like 2 days later or something that I'm on a flight and I'm on a layover. And during that layover, I run into a connection of mine who's now my business partner. His name is Ryan Woolley. And he tells me he just learned how to buy apartment buildings. And I was like, cool, duplex, triplex? He's like, no, like big ass apartment buildings, 100 plus units. I was like, what? I'd never read a book about it. Yeah. Nothing. It wasn't even remotely on my radar.
What year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay. So it was kind of before the whole social media boom-ish, right? So like it wasn't like we're like YouTube wasn't super popular at that time, or it wasn't like there wasn't a wealth of information out there on apartments.
No, podcasts and stuff. I don't even think I'd ever listen to a podcast at that point, ever. I don't know if they're around or not. But no, I literally wasn't even on my realm of possibility. And he said, it was layover, quick passing. And he said something like, the cash flow from these things are crazy or something like that. And that's what I've been looking for. Something that could provide long-term cash flow, like truly like scalability.
Yeah.
So it's like my mind just obsessed on it, like the whole ride.
So what was like a random stranger that you're talking to, or was like somebody you knew from before?
So Ryan, I knew him from before.
Okay.
We were acquaintances. Like he had done some single family properties. So flips and stuff like that. So I knew him from a different network. He actually also had an internet business. So I knew him from another network as well. So we knew of each other.
Okay.
And so that's why we chatted. And man, then I went to a training from Dave Lindahl. I don't know do you know who Dave is?
No, I don't.
Love Dave. He's an OG in the multifamily space. And I learned like, oh my gosh, I can actually buy these things. And man, we dove in full force.
So it was like a coaching program or like a relationship. So you talked to your buddy Ryan, you guys went to like a coaching, and then from there just off to the races, just like taking action and just kind of scaling it.
Yeah. So he had actually went through it already. And I went, he told me I should go, I go. Okay. I didn't partner with Ryan initially. I had other partners. But this was, it was everything for me. So I believe that it worked because it's almost like I didn't leave myself any other option.
Yeah.
Like, this has to work. Even though we just talked about how a need is a bad thing, right?
I mean, it's weird because sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's not. There's like a conundrum on this, right? Because sometimes you need the extra bonus, like you're going to put in the extra hours, the extra little studying, the extra little conversations because it's so important to you, right? So it goes both ways.
That's it. What's crazy is what it did for me is I wouldn't allow myself to, I still had frustrations, but it's almost like the struggles that I saw, the challenges that I had, the things that didn't go right. It wasn't like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. It was almost like my whole mindset shifted where it's like, okay, man, that's okay. I learned this.
Yeah.
Man, and I would laugh about it. And I actually found joy in it because I sold myself on it every single day that this was the direction. Because I saw the end goal.
That's a super powerful point that you just made. I think a lot of times, like when you're starting out as an investor, like you give up easily because you don't think it's possible, or you don't see the finish line, right? Yeah. But when you see like a guy like yourself who's actually done it, that's why I think it's really powerful to get around guys like yourself who's actually done it, because they're like, hey, it's possible. There's going to be challenges obviously along the way, but if you solve these challenges, this is where you can get to. And I think like just seeing the end goal, like, or the vision of what's possible, like allows you to overcome the challenges, because you know that if you do overcome them, then there's like this reward, or like this the other side of like the whole equation, right?
That's exactly it, man. I feel like you just nailed that, because it is, your belief is limited. If you've never achieved a certain thing, whatever that is, like right now, there are things that I'm like striving for and pushing towards that are really hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
And so what I need to do, what helps me, is surrounding myself with people who have already achieved that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if that dude can do it, I definitely can do it. It starts to enhance your belief, because you start to realize these people aren't special. There's nothing crazy special about them. Don't get me wrong. They're talented. They're motivated, but it's
they're normal people like us,
normal people.
I mean, it's so weird, because when you think of a guy like, let's say like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, or these, or like yourself, Tyler Deveraux, right? Like we put ourselves like on a pedestal. We put you on a pedestal because we're so far from where you are. But then when we have a conversation with you and talk to you, it's like you're you're normal. You're a normal human. You have 24 hours in a day. You have a family. You started off with nothing 7 years ago. I mean, like it's like you're a normal human being that can, like, you can touch and have a conversation with. It's just
and challenges all the time. Like, dude, Strat and Nico over here, they're on my team. They see like, sheesh, all the time. What you just said is key though, man, because we measure ourselves against an ideal. That's what we do. And so even if we've made a ton of progress, what we do is we measure ourselves off of an ideal. So even if anybody who has achieved a goal, but you don't feel satisfied, it's because instead of measuring yourself from how far you've come, you start to measure yourself against an ideal, which is you'll never reach the ideal because the ideal is always just out of grasp. That's the point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to keep you moving. But if you measure yourself against that, you're always in lack. You're always your confidence goes down, your motivation goes down. On the flip side, if you measure yourself from the beginning, then all of this is now your confidence grows and you start to recognize that.
I love that. There's a book it's called The Gap in the Gain.
Yeah, by Ben Hardy.
So like they talk about it, right? Where like your life, there's like the gain, that your progress, which you've accomplished, and there's how much more you want to go, right? So if you live in the gap, you're always like, I need more, I need more. But if you live in the gain while you're trying to achieve the gap, now you feel more gratitude. You feel like you can see what you've done. It's like you're just a happier person. You feel more fulfilled because you're living in the gain as opposed to the gap, right?
This is why we resonate, bro, because that book is such a great book. That's exactly what that is. It's Ben Hardy or Darren? No,
I don't remember the
Dan
author.
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book though, to really help you with perspective. I love you. So you've read that book.
Yeah, I read the Cliff Notes on. Like, I've got I forget what service, like they give you like the Cliff Notes and different things. So, but yeah,
so good. Yeah, bro, so good. Love it. That's exactly it, though. And that's at every level that you're at. If you can remember that, you can continue to gain momentum. That's with your relationship with your spouse. That's with your expectations with your kids, your expectation for yourself, all of it. Yeah.
So walk us through that journey of, so you signed up for the mentorship. What did your first deal look like, and how did you kind of get into like the whole?
First deal was a different structure. So I was terrified to raise money because I looked at that as like I was like a beggar with my hand out.
Work a little bit back. So for multifamily investing, there's like, I think 4 different seats you can have in the. Can you talk to us about that?
4 different roles.
Yeah, is that the?
Yeah. You have the individual who sponsors the deal. Okay. That's the one who usually has a track record. They have a net worth, liquidity, experience, owning, operating, controlling these big apartments. That's someone who signs on the loan.
Okay.
Then you have the individual who finds the deal, acquires the deal, right? The acquisition side, if you will.
Okay.
The deal finder. That individual goes out, builds relationships with brokers, sources the deal, puts it under contract. And you could fulfill all of these roles, one of these roles, a portion of the roles. Yeah, it's a team sport on multifamily.
Yeah.
Then you have the individual who raises the capital for the deal.
Okay.
And not necessarily bringing the money in, but like their own money, but raising the money from other people.
Yeah, got you.
Then you have what's called an asset manager. And that asset manager, their job is to carry out the business plan. They're not the property manager. An asset manager manages the property manager.
Yeah.
Help carry out the business plan. So in the beginning, I believe one of the things that was a huge advantage to me.
Okay.
Nobody was talking about partnerships when I first started.
Okay.
Like literally nobody that I knew was talking about that. It was all just go and try to figure all this stuff out on your own. But the guy that mentored me, his name was Jeremy, his big thing was time. My big thing was time.
Yeah.
And so he was all about delegation and bringing in different roles. But my first deal, I didn't do that, man. It is the only multifamily deal that I didn't bring in other partners.
Okay.
I picked it up as a 20-unit apartment, Birmingham, Alabama, $339,000 all in. $50,000 was my down payment. I did that down payment from a 0 interest credit card. It was 12 months, 0 interest. Crazy. Hard money loan for the rest. And then I went in and rehabbed some of the units and then was able to refinance into a different loan. And that is it's a risky deal because I'm the only one at risk at this. And I'm trying to figure all of it out on my own.
And the thing is, like, like when you said like as powerful as when you have partners, you have other guys. It's sometimes it's good and bad, right? Like if you have great partners, they're chipping in, adding in like value, work, and experience and all the oversight. So like the risk is mitigated because like, you just have other set of eyes on top of the deal, right?
That's it. Their strength becomes right after that. Now I started to partner. And I started to partner with other people on that deal. Like I have my own business, but then I started to partner with people on these different deals. And for example, I'd bring in a sponsor to do a bigger deal, somebody that raises capital that I didn't have the capacity to raise that capital. I didn't have systems to do that.
Yeah.
And I would maybe source the deal and raise some of the capital. And now all of a sudden, like I'm partnering with somebody who's their specialty, their skill set, their strength is raising capital. And I'm seeing how they do it, the conversations they have, the systems they have put in place, the business plan they put together, how they present it to investors. It's like, I learned a ton.
The thing is, like, it's really powerful because when you have like one role, you can really dive in and just focus on that, right? So like, you're not distracted, you're not using mental energy on like acquiring it or being a sponsor. Like, my sole focus is just raising capital. So I'm just put all my time and energy into building this one system or this network that's just based around raising capital. So you're just gonna get way better at that one thing you're doing.
Way better, man. Right? It's like diluted focus produces diluted results. But then there's a long-term game to it too, because then I bring in an asset manager as an example. I've never carried a business plan out on a multifamily property, but they have, and I see how they do it. I see how they communicate with the property managers. I see the reports that they look out, how they poke holes in those reports, I learned business. I really learned business from buying apartment buildings because it's truly ran like a true operating business. It's valued like a true operating business. So I see these different components and I see how they do things. And even though I have my lane, this weakness that I have is becoming strengthened because I'm learning from somebody on a real life property.
Yeah. From an expert who's really good at it too, right?
So that's it. And I'm providing value on their end as we continue to go, because now I get really good at raising capital. I'm pretty decent at sourcing deals too. And now I'm providing value to them because they're seeing my systems on how I do that, that really I learned from somebody else. I'm seeing their systems on how they did it, that they learned from somebody else at some point. And we strengthen each other and grow.
So, just like thinking through this process, how do you attract guys who are really good at their craft? Like when you first started, you have like no track record, you know?
Yeah. So conversation we kind of had a little bit in the beginning. Like, how do you inspire somebody to want to do business with you? And I call them key momentum indicators, like that you show. So one of those, for an example, is just a sense of urgency. Like a sense of urgency to accomplish their goals. Because that person I know I would rather, like, even when I hire now, I don't hire based off of their experience is great. Knowledge is awesome. I hire based off of their urgency. Like
that's, I just want to sit there a little while. That's such a big, component, I think, of success. And I think when you look at like any high achievers, they just have like this sense of urgency in whatever they're doing. It's just like an internal drive to want to get things done faster and better. And like, it's weird, but like whenever I'm around, like in these rooms of like so there's the experienced guys who are doing it for like a long time, and there's like the young and up and coming guys, right? Like when I see a young guy have a sense of urgency, I'm like, I feel like this guy is going to be successful, you know? And like the other high achievers that I'm around, like there's always the guys who are like, they want to go and they want to accomplish things quickly. You know that they're going to like move the needle forward faster.
Total. And that is, dude, that energy is palpable. That energy is exciting. That energy is attractive. And so when you see that in somebody else, I'm telling you, when you see that, I'm like, man, I want to partner with that person. That person's going to do big things. You know? And you want to be a part of it. You literally just want to be a part of it, even though they're brand new. There's a scent, like you can feel it. So I wanted to make sure that I felt like that I provided that energy.
Were you consciously aware of that back then when you're starting out?
It's a great question, man. I think that I started to become more aware of it. I really was urgent.
So you naturally had the desire, because like you're all about it. But then were you aware that how powerful like that the energy you brought to like that your partners or your team, you know?
You know what I started to do? I love that question, man, because it makes me think about it. I don't know if I was like super conscious of it, but I'll tell you what I was. I was aware of certain things, right? And I started to study mindset a ton, because it was the biggest challenge with acquiring apartment buildings. I think the biggest challenge of really like growing and scaling a business is the mental side, the mindset 100%, side. Yeah. So I started to study mindset a ton, and I started to recognize how important that was, and how it felt like how you respond to failures, to setbacks. It's like we can't control the situations, the circumstances, the events, but we can control our response to the events.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and the more that I realized that, like that energy made me more confident. I think that confidence rubbed off on other people. Like, how do you inspire somebody to want to do business with you? And I call them key momentum indicators, like that you show. So one of those, for an example, is just a sense of urgency. Like a sense of urgency to accomplish their goals. Because that person I know I would rather, like, even when I hire now, I don't hire based off of their experience is great. Knowledge is awesome. I hire based off of their urgency. Like
that's, I just want to sit there a little while. That's such a big component, I think, of success. And I think when you look at like any high achievers, they just have like this sense of urgency in whatever they're doing. It's just like an internal drive to want to get things done faster and better. And like it's weird, but like whenever I'm around like in these rooms of like so there's the experienced guys who are doing it for like a long time, and there's like the young and up and coming guys, right? Like when I see a young guy have a sense of urgency, I'm like, I feel like this guy is going to be successful, you know. And like the other high achievers that I'm around, like there's always the guys who are like they want to go and they want to accomplish things quickly. You know that they're gonna like move the needle forward faster.
Total, and that is, dude, that energy is palpable. That energy is exciting. That energy is attractive. And so when you see that in somebody else, I'm telling you, when you see that, I'm like, man, I want to partner with that person. That person's going to do big things. You know?
Yeah.
And you want to be a part of it. You literally just want to be a part of it, even though they're brand new. It's a scent, like you can feel it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I felt like that I provided that energy.
Did you consciously?
And then I started to do affirmations, like, you know, I really did like started to do affirmations and meditation and visualization. And those three things were big because meditation, I meditate two ways. One way, I clear my mind of everything. And another way, I visualize. And I visualize, dude, what I want to happen. And that really comes from, I usually will visualize after I've done my affirmations.
Okay.
So my affirmations are what I'm striving for, you know. So my
I think those are really powerful. It's like when you speak it into existence, it's almost like there's like a tangible thing that's just happened, right? So like as opposed to you just thinking in your head versus when you say it out loud, it's like you're kind of like it's a different kind of energy that you're putting out there, right? So
because it requires more confidence, man. It's like when you speak it out loud, I can say it in my mind all day, and that's still even powerful. But when you speak it out loud, like. There was a time where I wouldn't even ever speak those things in front of other people. I'd only speak them to myself in the bathroom as long as I knew that nobody was even remotely close to where I was at.
I'm in the same boat before. It feels like too like woo woo, or it feels like embarrassing at times, right?
Yep.
But here's another thing too, is like it's a quick example of that is like telling your wife you love her. So like if you just think it in your head, then she never gets to experience it. And it's like almost less true. But then if you actually tell her that every day, even if she knows that it's like she already knows, like she knows it already. I don't need to tell her that. But this when you say it out loud, like it just makes it more real or like more powerful, right? So
that's a great analogy, man. That's a great analogy because we're no different as human beings. Like there's a book called Be Your Future Self Now.
Okay.
And have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
It's a phenomenal one. And he talks about viewing this future version of yourself as like a true person, like as a real person. And so the actions that you're taking today are either helping that person or hurting that person.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, that a key because so many people think that the little things they do today aren't really going to have a big impact on the tomorrow, but that's exactly what it is. The little things you do today, like when I look at, you know, skipping a workout or not putting in that extra rep or not going to, you know, not doing, you know, that extra call, that extra whatever, I am actually really hurting this other person. And when you truly view your future self as another person, because we'll give up on ourselves all day.
Yeah.
But you
can't let down future Tyler Deveraux or future Daniel Kahn because like you feel for them as differently as when you take yourself out than like yourself, or like it's just like it's a different like that's so super cool.
Now that's what it is. And so you actually start to gain a love for this future version of yourself, right? And if your why has to transcend self, because when you start to actually form a love for this future version of yourself, you start to act differently now. And this is the key. This is what happened to me. I knew like what that life looked like. And I was visualizing what that was. But then this unlock for me is when I realized, okay, what does that person do? How do they act? If this person, this future version that I'm so desperately trying to aspire to be, how would they handle the situation? How would they approach it? And then you just start doing that now. Okay, I'm going to react like that now. I'm going to dress like that now. I'm going to take care of myself like that now. I'm going to eat like that now. I'm going to work out like that now. I'm going to do that now. And when you do that now, well then
that's so powerful. I'm just like thinking this right now, and just like you're thinking of like your future killer version of Tyler in 30 or whatever. Like what he's crushing it. You put him back into your shoes today. How would he handle the situation? What is he doing now today? And then like so you're using like it's like almost like a hack of like you've got like future like amazing Tyler and today's things who's just crushing it in today's business, right? So
that's it. And you know what happened though? I'll tell you a mistake that happened. I visualized this person. I started to act like that. And then it started to compound so quickly that I became that person I achieved that quicker than I thought that I was going to achieve it. And And I had done that before I really started to envision what the next person was. So these affirmations that I had, I stuck with the same ones for too long. And all of a sudden I reached this point where I was like, man, I feel like I'm plateauing because I've been doing the same affirmations and the same, like, dude, for way too long.
Yeah.
What is that future? And what it took was somebody asking me, what is the next, I think they asked, like, 5 years look like?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, let me tell you. And I started to like, and as I started to explain it to him, I was like, man, I'm not clear on what that looks like. I actually haven't so then I had to sit back down and set bigger, deeper goals, 10-year, 5-year. What does that person look like? And started telling stories around that. And that's a continual process. And that's a slippery slope because I'm very hard on myself and I'm never measuring off the ideal, right? That's probably why the book resonated with me so much, is because I don't take a lot of time to enjoy the things that I've achieved.
Yeah.
That keeps me moving. But there's a point, there's that balance, man.
Yeah, it's all about balance, right? I mean, you can't just sit in what you've accomplished, but you also can't just stay in like just growth without looking back at what you've already done, right?
That's it. Reflection is powerful. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, you guys got me thinking like it's such a. I feel like every time I talk to you, I always like learn something or I hear you speak. And so we went to like your 3-day mastermind and 3-day like workshop.
Yep.
And it was just really cool seeing like you just have a wealth of wisdom. I don't know whether it's from just reading books or just life experience or whatever, but I feel like you've leveled up so many times that like it kind of oozes out of yourself, you know? And like, I think we were talking in the car about like how sometimes like when you teach it, you almost like, you learn it better from yourself than what you're actually doing. You know, I feel like all the reps you've done and just coaching so many like thousands of students that like from the coaching, you probably are leveling up as a person as well too.
Totally, bro. And it's another layer of responsibility because you're coaching these people, you're seeing them grow. And bro, that is like the funnest thing I can even tell. I highly overestimated how much I would love like individual achievements. I overestimated it. I underestimated how much I would love seeing other people grow. But then there's this sense of responsibility. You're seeing them grow, you're seeing them kill it. And it's like, I love it. And then it's like, oh man, I got to make sure that I'm like leveling up to make sure that because once again, I have this sense of responsibility to be that person.
Yeah.
And so then it forces me to level up, which is beautiful, to make sure that they always have somebody to look to, right?
It's kind of like a selfish hack too, because like it's whenever you do something for somebody else, you always have like extra motivation than if you're doing it for yourself, right? So like whenever you tie your goals to somebody else gaining, like it's almost like it helps you gain yourself because you have to level up for your team, for your company, for your students, or like whatever it is. But it's like, but that drives you. That's a bigger motivator than you just leveling up for yourself so you can buy like a nicer watch or a nicer car, right?
Yeah. Dude, that's exactly it, man, because that's a form of abundance too. Competition is not a bad thing. Competition is a real thing, but I don't view it as a bad thing. I literally view competition as a beautiful thing because it 100% actually forces you to get better.
Yeah. I think so. I've had this conversation with a buddy. I think about competition where people are like, we're not competitors. Like that's like a negative thing, you know. But like I feel like if you're in a healthy competition with people, you can like want to see them succeed and want to crush them at the same time. Like it's like this, like you want like you level up each other like together, right? And it's funny because we're in like this little mini. I think when we were starting out as investors with like these other people, like we are just kind of starting out, and there was like a friendly like competition where we were trying to outdo the other person. And so like it was like we were in competition with each other, but we were friends, right? So like we were both leveling up. So this person did something, I'm gonna do this. And so like amongst our peers, we were just both trying to like outdo the next person, but we were both rising our game together because it was a friendly like productive competition between us. So
that's it. And the minute you lose that and you think that person is outgrowing you and you want to like pull them down, right? Like this bucket crab mentality, you're not pulling them down, you're pulling you down. That's what you're doing. If you feel like you have to knock somebody down for you to escalate, you're in the wrong mentality. So I'll give you an example. Okay, my education company will do, it's rare, but sometimes we'll do 2 of those 3-day events at the same time, like the same weekend. So I'm doing one, another team's doing another one. Listen, man, the benefit for the company is the benefit for the company. Like I'm going to benefit no matter what. If they beat me, that's beautiful. It all funnels down to my business thing, right? So, but dude, I'm super competitive. So I'm like, now I want to freaking kill these guys, you know? I want to freaking embarrass them. Not because they do bad. I want them to do freaking crazy numbers. And this just happened recently where we're going head to head and they started a day before us. And so I see what they did and the impact that they had. And it was like, oh my gosh, man, but it forced us to level up. I'm like, okay, what do we need to do? How do we do this? How do we? And
yeah.
it literally made us get better. And that's the key. I never want to win because somebody else failed.
Yeah.
I want to win because I outdid the person who won big. Right?
Yeah.
That's it. I just did that next one more thing. Yeah.
It's such a healthy mindset for competition, right? Like to be the best, you gotta beat the best, right? Yeah, it's you want them to be better so you can beat them at you're even better than them, right? So I love that whole the mindset and just like the thought process behind like just your life and business in general.
That's it. And you think sports, like you want to beat the best. Mm-hmm. I don't hear people be like, man, no, I want that best team to win. That's who I want to face in the finals. And I'd be like, man, really?
Yeah.
Because if the other team wins, your chances of winning, but that's not, they don't want to win just to win. They actually want to be the best. They actually want to be the best. Yeah. And to do that, but it's a form of confidence and it's a form of abundance. It's like, I know that I have the ability to.
Yeah. That's a big key too, I think, is like, you have to believe you have the ability to do it. Because if you don't believe that it's possible, then like now you're going to be like, I need to knock them down so I can achieve my goal, right? But like, as long as you believe that like it's possible for you to get there, then now like the abundance mentality or mindset can kind of really kick in.
That's it. It's all abundance, man. Everything is, you attract that. And so you have to challenge it at every, because I believe we're more wired to geared towards scarcity. So the more that you challenge it at every corner, everything, dude, it's crazy growth.
So you guys like started partnering up on deals on the multifamily side.
Yep.
How did you like scale to like, so now you've got like 3,700 units and 400 million, like from that first like $300,000 like deal, what was like that journey look like, or the
struggles, challenges, and figuring it out the whole way through. And it's that belief that you said, because this whole way through you're doing a bit. I remember the first 100+ unit deal we did.
Okay.
And it was like, oh my God, I don't know if we can do this, and it was such a challenge to get that thing to the closing table. And then we closed our first 100 unit. And then, man, it starts to compound, and it starts to compound because your identity starts to change. But in the beginning, your identity is lower because you just haven't done it, right? Yeah. So what does that look like? I started partnering with different people, but I knew that I wanted to grow a full-fledged investment company like we have now, like team members, all that. So I started to learn. And then Ryan comes into play because I saw Ryan, dude, he was providing me so much value. He's the ultimate connector. So he's connecting me with different people. He's building me up to different people, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, I got to partner with this dude. And what's beautiful about that partnership is we're different people.
Okay.
He has different strengths than I have. And the strength isn't in our similarities. The strength is actually in our differences.
Yeah.
And we understood that. And we each just honed in on our differences, and we're grateful for the differences that each other had. And we grew, and we started to build solid relationships. But here's really what happened. People, as you're structuring any business, any deal, anything, it's that art of negotiation. And you're trying to get the most that you can. You don't want to get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
You want the biggest piece of the pie. Well, abundance. We started to partner with people, and we would take less. Like we would take less to bring them in because we wanted to make sure that they got taken care of on the deal. Where other people, one of them, her name is Sarah, as an example.
Okay.
Sarah is one of our students.
Okay.
And she is awesome.
Okay.
Like, dude, she's an absolute beast. We saw the value there, but everyone else was trying to lowball what they would give to her as bringing her in on the partnership. We didn't do that. We saw that in the short term, we may make less, but in the long term, we knew that we would make more. We knew that's abundance, right? So we started to do things fairly. And if anything, it would be to our detriment.
Yeah.
And that might sound counterintuitive to strong business.
It is counterintuitive, I think, in the short term, I think. But like when you look at any, like what I've seen, like the guys like yourself who are successful, they're always very generous, like looking at the bigger picture. And so like it's like in the short term you're gonna make less, but then like in the long term, like it's gonna outgrow like whatever like short term like gain or loss that you made. And so I see this happen with investors or agents so often where they're chasing the fast money, right? Or the quick money. And then like in doing so, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot for like the future business or the future relationship, which is way more valuable like than that extra 10 grand or 20 grand or 30 grand that you're going to make in this short-term deal, right?
That we talked about that today in the car too, is that the more that you scale and grow in business, the more that you realize it's all about people. It's all about the relationship. The true value is in the relationships.
Yeah.
And if you realize that, you harness those, well, first off, you establish those, and then you actually like care about those relationships.
Yeah.
Dude, the scalability is crazy. It's your reputation. See, you might be able to negotiate something here and get a bigger cut and make more here, but then all of a sudden your reputation is, man, they're cutthroat.
Yeah.
They're not fair. And then people don't want to do business with you.
Yeah.
We never wanted to be those people. We just didn't. Like we didn't want to be those people. And so it was partnering with people, giving them fair shares, and if anything, once again, taking more workload, less ownership, less profits. But once again, think bigger is our tagline, and it's our tagline.
I love that. It's like, I mean, like it hits in so many different ways, but sorry.
And that's it. It's abundance. It's bigger deals. It's thinking long term. Like literally, just if you can get out of this short term circumstance that you're in, just like I talked about earlier, on a personal level, where I'm right here, I feel like, when I first started, I feel like I have nothing, but this future version doesn't feel like that. And so I'm going to act like that future version now. It's not fake it till you make it. That's not what I'm talking about. It is literally doing the behaviors.
Act as if.
Yeah. Gory would have put that.
Yeah. Act as if. I mean, it's funny. I had a conversation with another buddy where it's like, the fake it to make it just sounds terrible. But then when you say like, act as if you're Tyler Deveraux, act as if you're future Daniel. So like it gives you a different kind of like mindset switch to kind of like make decisions.
I love that, dude. That's a great play. And that's literally what it is though. You act as if, right? This longer term version. And it's the same thing on your businesses. You partner and you think long term here, right? With the business, you think long term. You take away you have to step outside your poor, pity, financial concerns, whatever it is, and just think and know that this version is going to be here.
Yeah.
And structure here that you don't need that extra 10 grand. You don't need but what you need is the actual relationship capital. That's the true capital.
It's so sad. I mean, this actually happened to a buddy of mine just very recently, where he was partnered with another investor. He was partnered with another guy, and the guy screwed him over like literally like 10 grand.
It's nuts.
And like, I was like, what were you, I mean, I'm just thinking this other dude, like, what are you thinking? Like, it ruins your reputation, like in the community. Hawaii is a small community.
Yep.
And then like, this guy's not going to do business with you anymore. We're probably not going to do business with this if you're screw our friends too, right? And so like, it's such a short-sighted like way of thinking that like if you just think on the bigger picture, like you'll get so much more than like that extra 10 grand. But I mean, I get it though, because some people are like, they're trying to eat. And so like everybody's in a different season in life, So it's sad to see that happen when you can see like the potential that person could have had if they just thought bigger,
Totally, bro. That's it, man. And when you do that, things start to change for you. Things just start to change for you. And your reputation starts to change, right? And that will create massive momentum in so many different directions of your life. And the advice that I would give to anybody out there would be that, man. It would literally just be that. And I'll tell you that the warning that I'll give you is it actually, in the beginning, you have nothing to lose, really. Like you literally have nothing to lose, everything to gain. So it is actually easier, I believe, to do that in the beginning because, man, you don't feel like you're giving up very much anyway because you're just grateful to be a part of it. The more you scale, I'm just telling you, this is a slippery slope, and I've seen this happen. Dude, I've seen this happen with us in our mentality. The more you scale, the more you grow, the more people you have that are trying to get something. All my conversations, for the most part, are somebody asking for something, wanting something, and that gets to a point where it's exhausting. Yeah. It's like, man, am I being taken advantage of here? And the minute, once again, your mind starts to feel like that, that's slippery, dude. That's so slippery because then you're like, you start almost to get jaded. You start to get bitter of like, no, man, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. No, they're just trying to, right? Yeah. I believe in people. I believe most people are amazing people. Yeah. This is also why I believe in the hard conversations. If I feel like that, what I believe in is not harnessing that and like I'm going to tell them I feel like that. Hey man, I'll be honest with you. Like, this is how I feel. And then what I've learned is if you have those hard conversations and you just actually communicate, you're going to realize that that's the last thing they want you to feel. Yeah. That's the last thing. And they're not trying to, they're not. And that's why I believe in people, is because I believe that I have such a high belief in people because I'm willing to have those tough conversations that then help me understand more about people. Yeah. And most people are freaking great, man. I mean, it's the key you said here is just having those hard conversations. But I think like it's so hard to have those, and it's so easy to just assume and then just like make assumptions, right? Where you're in your bubble and you're in their bubble. But it's really hard to get
information. It's hard to get context from a distance, right? Like you don't understand what's going on or like what their thought process is when you're so far removed from them. But once you get into the things, okay, I understand how you came to this conclusion. I understand why you made this decision. Let's work through this together, as opposed to like just we're at odds because we don't know what's going on, right? So,
yeah. Bro, this just happened recently where I believe one of the ways that I show love, I show love is feedback. Like I'll see that you're not living up to who I know you can be and who you truly are.
Yeah.
And so then I'll give some feedback. And then I have this conversation, like I felt like this tension. So then we go to lunch and I have this conversation, this hard conversation, like, man, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, man, I felt like you viewed me as a loser. And I'm like, oh my God, what? No, oh my gosh, the opposite of. You know, but we're able to actually communicate and be like, no, I'm not giving you feedback because I view you as a loser and that you're failing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the opposite of that, bro. I believe that I see more in you than you see in you. That's literally how I believe it. And so it's like, when I see that you're not doing, it's like, I want to just help you get to your best version. That's a form of love, not a form of like judging or at all.
Yeah.
And that communication is, once again, it's just critical. Communication.
Yeah. So important. So I mean, maybe like you've had so much success over the years. Was there any like a big challenge? Like we like people like hearing like that, because then we only see on social media like all the wins and like the massive success, but maybe is there like a crazy like negative story where you guys lost a lot of money or like where things went really south?
I haven't lost. I mean, I'll tell you right now, we're seeing challenges. Right now, we've scaled quickly, and when you scale quickly, the systems that you have that worked, all of a sudden you realize like, oh my gosh, those aren't working anymore.
What got you to here won't take you to there,
That's
right?
It.
So
you learn so much more from failure or struggle than you ever do from success. And so the key though is literally right now we're having like these growing pains. It's like these systems that we need to change, enhance, dial in. And in that moment, you have so many people when you've risen and you have so many people looking at you. Yeah. It's like, are they going to look at us like we're complete F-ups, that this is not like completely dialed completely, you know? Because in my mind, it's like they need to come in and see that.
Like super professional, you have it all figured out. Like
all figured out. Thing, And then all of a sudden you peek open the doors, you're like, oh shit, we're just trying to figure shit out, you know? All the time. So that's a challenge mentally, but it's also a challenge on the business because you have to remain steady, calm, cool, confident, knowing that you'll figure it out, knowing that you'll put the pieces in place. Because I believe when everything's going good, here's what I believe. When everything's going good, it's my job to cause disruption.
What? Explain that.
What I mean by that is like then people get comfortable. Success can cause people to get comfortable. So then it's my job to come and like cause disruption and let them know like almost like the sky is falling. Like, no, man, what are you doing? Comfortable? But what? We need to do this and this. And then it brings the best out of people. But when there's challenges and those stressors are on the team, my job is not to create disruption. My job is to stay steady and create peace of mind. Because I know the vision. I know the vision. I know the direction. I have the confidence in the direction. And if that confidence starts to wane, everyone's going to feel that. Because once again, I'm the person that I feel, and I never want this to be different. I'm the person they're looking to like, do we got it? And it's like behind closed doors sometimes. Right now, I'll be like, whoo, do I got it? Do we got it? You know? Because you're trying to figure it out. I know what it took to get me to where I'm at, to get us to where we're at. I don't know what it's taken us to get here because I've never done it. So it's key to remember that no matter what stage of the journey you're on, dude, you're trying to get somewhere you've never been. There's challenges.
Yeah.
So right now we have a couple properties that we should have put different loan structures into. Two main properties that we should have put different loan structures in. And what's crazy, man, like I knew at the moment, I knew in the moment we shouldn't have done that. I just did. But it's, once again, you learn. So we'll figure out solutions, and we're figuring out solutions, and we're good. It's challenging.
I mean, you just got me thinking right now. Like it's so important for the leader of the team to really have like the confidence or like lend their confidence to the other team members, right? As far as like knowing that you're gonna figure it out or you have a direction. But sometimes I mean, like it's so hard to do that in the moment or to like that to be that leader, right? Like how do you? I mean, like, what do you do to gain that confidence? Let's say because you've never been there before, right? Like, how do you have that confidence or like the belief in yourself or like the team that you can actually get there?
Love this question, bro. And this has been a huge learning lesson for me because I felt like in the past, I felt like I need to be the one that has all the answers. Well, I'm not supposed to have all the answers.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way for us to have all the answers, right? Like we haven't experienced, we're not at that level yet anyway, right? So
That's it. That's a prideful thing, actually. So how do I gain the confidence in this moment when I don't have the confidence? I show confidence in my team. And what I mean by that is I show confidence that I believe in them. Hey, man, here's the situation. What do you guys think the solutions are? And then I listen intently. And it's, once again, it's not my job to have all the answers, but it is my job to choose the right answer. It's my job to do that. So I listen to them. And then what happens is they now start to amplify. Because now all of a sudden it's like, man, I need to level up. Because, man, this is my time to be able to shine. This is I think we could do this, and I think we could do this. And then your team becomes strengthened. And that's a crazy part of leadership, because as your team becomes strengthened, you become strengthened. And how do you become strengthened? You used to become strengthened because you did it all. Now you're strengthened. And then there's this time where it's like, it's not your job to do it all. It's your job to help these people do it all. Like if I came to you right now and I was like, and I said, hey, Daniel, man, like I really need, could you help me with this? And then you go and you do it.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I mean, you feel like you accomplished a lot. You feel like amazing. I mean, like you helped another person, but you also level up. I'm leveling up myself, right? It's like if you come to me with like can you help me with this? But it's over my comfort zone. If I'm actually able to achieve that, I just level up as a team member, as a person, right?
Yeah, your identity changes, your confidence changes. And now, dude, it's like that's such a, I just gave you a gift. If you did, it sounds so weird, but I just gave you a gift because I didn't know it. Yeah. And like I gave you this opportunity to help. And now your confidence raises. And now because of that, you continue to amplify. And that's a humbling part of leadership, because you start to realize, man, you're only growing because of your team. Right now, I am only growing because of my team. I used to feel like I was pulling. Now I just feel like, oh my gosh, I've weaponized myself with freaking amazing people who are pushing me the whole way up. And it's my job to weaponize them with what they need and not get in the way. Like just continue to amplify. That's how you do it, man. Yeah.
You got my mind thinking through so many things. I feel like I'm doing a lot of things wrong too. I think the natural tendency is you don't want to ask or burden people with like tasks, right? Because you're like I don't want to give them or challenge them to do more because I don't want to give them more work. Yeah. But like but there's a way where like it's a healthy way to do it, and there's an unhealthy way to do it, right? Where you don't want to just dump people with like too many tasks and have them struggle, but then also like you also don't want them to just stay complacent and not level up their own personhood or their own like abilities, right?
Totally, bro. Expectations versus intentions. Like if you expect this person to do a certain thing, your expectation will get in the way of your success. But if your intention is to truly help them level up and you see their greatness, and then if they don't hit it, like we all do, dude, we'll all be striving for something we don't quite figure it out. We don't do it correctly. What do you do in that moment? In that moment, do you freaking tear that person down or get after them for not? Or do you show grace? And I'm going to tell you, when you get to a point where you know that like you need them, in the best way.
Yeah.
You need them, man. You want them to excel. You want them to succeed. It's like, it's a humbling thing, because now you're so grateful that it's like, you shouldn't be tearing them apart at that point. Could you have done it any better?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Now it's like a long-term vision. Yeah. In the short term, maybe, dude, if I would have been in there and if I would have just taken it and done it, I probably could have done it better. Probably, maybe, depending on what it is. But in the long term, that's never going to provide scalability. So in that term, I just said you learn so much more from failure than you do from success. So if that person now they tried their best, dude, and it didn't work and they didn't achieve it, that's not the time. That is like literally your opportunity to actually capitalize with that person. Because now instead of beating them, you freaking build them back up and show them that you still have their back no matter what. Now they become loyal. Now they become grateful. Now they become, dude, they know they're willing to try new things. And in order to excel and grow and freaking scale, rise up, level up, you have to be willing to try.
There needs to be enough margin for people to feel safe to take mistakes, right? Because like if they feel like they can't make mistakes, they're just not going to do anything, and they're just going to be super safe and then like not get anything done. But if they have like they feel like it's safe, and there's also like a boundary, right? I mean, you can't be like stupid mistakes, but you have to have some freedom where you can make a mistake and still be like, it's okay. We can recover and we can get better from this, right? So
this is where being a dad has been so impactful for me with my relationship with God. I told you I'm very hard on myself. So I'll beat myself up when I don't do things properly. And I'll be like, man, like, God, yeah, he's probably like, what are you doing? You know? But then I become a dad, and Pax and Marley, like my kids, they make a mistake. I do not care about the mistake. I don't. I care. Did you learn from it? If they make a mistake, Pax, is mean to his sister, and then he comes and he's like, man, I'm sorry. This is what I did wrong. I literally, the mistake is, it doesn't matter anymore because the learning lesson's been achieved. So it's the same. So I believe it's the same thing with me. It's like, I'll make a mistake. I'll do something wrong. I'll sin. I'll whatever it is. And it's like, okay, what did I learn from it? And I know it's changed my relationship with God. It's like, that's the ultimate grace. And it's the best leader that I've ever studied is Jesus Christ. He's the best leader I've ever studied. And so what would he do in that situation, right? WWJD, somebody messes up. Did they learn the lesson? And if so, then the mistake doesn't matter. It's the lesson that matters, and you freaking build their confidence from there.
That's an amazing thought. I mean, the whole podcast, you just got me thinking on these just different like topics. I think it's real. I mean, you just, like I said, you have like a wealth of wisdom, like to just like in your journeys.
Thanks, bro.
Going back to like, I mean, we're almost at the end of time, but then going back to you, tell us about like the 2 years when you did your mission, and then tell us the story of like how you, because we had like a short conversation. How do you feel like that changed or affected like your ability to do business or to invest?
Tons, man. That's where I learned sales. First off, like you think about it, I'm selling people on in the church that I'm a part of. There's no smoking, no drinking, no sex before marriage. It's like, I'm selling people on that. Shit. If I could sell them on that, I could sell anybody anything,
That's a really good point.
It's like, I got to figure out like how to communicate with people of what they really want and then paint that picture. So that's where I learned that. And that was huge. But my identity changed a ton, and my identity changed a ton because I really saw how much, how valuable service was because when you're because it's all about service. Like literally it's all about, I mean, I'm not dating. I'm not like, literally I wasn't able to call home. We're talking 2 years, no dating. I'm 19 to 21, bro. It's like it's time to go ham. My buddies are going ham back home, and I'm not dating. No communication back home. It's every single day I'm waking up, and it's in the service of other people. I would go help people move. I would teach them the gospel. Whatever it was all about other people. That's what I learned value creation leads to. Do wealth creation, not in the financial state there, but in every other state, any other state. It's like, because when you give and you give, you realize that you have so much to give. And I've really found like that's where true happiness is. It was the happiest that I had ever been in my life was in that moment, in those moments, because it was service over self. Yeah. Now the challenging side though is now I get home. And that was a challenge, bro. That was such a challenge on the 2 year mission because people view you as like a nerd, dude. I remember like kids, like 12-year-old kids chucking rocks at me and being like, I'd be like, oh yeah. And I'd be like, dude, if you knew me, I'm cool. Like if you knew me back home, I'm actually cool. It was like, Frank, it was challenging. But then I get home and now it's regular life. And trying to find that balance of like, how do I really find that service-based approach in the real world? And it's hard to find that in the real world. It was challenging for me.
And survive, right? Because you got to live. You need food to put, money to put in. And then if you have a family, you got to provide for your family. There's a whole other set of challenges you're going to be facing.
That's it. And so that is literally a challenge. It's like, man, I've spent all this time on other people. Now I have to actually focus some time on myself so that I can amplify to give to other people. Just like on the mission, I had to build myself spiritually if I was going to help anybody else grow spiritually. I can't give something that I'm not experiencing. So it's like, if I want to help somebody create wealth, but I have no wealth, it's going to be very hard for me to inspire and transfer that belief in them if I'm not experiencing that belief on my end.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do I do that, right? And what's crazy is I found it in sales. That's why I love sales. Sales was this way that I literally fell in love with the process, obsessed with the process. I study it like crazy because I literally look at it as service. It's not necessarily ever me going in and like, I want to sell this person this thing at all. It is, I want to help as many people as possible, be able to as easily as possible without the mental turmoil. Because anytime you're making any sort of a big decision, it's a mental turmoil. And so I want to make it as easy as possible for them to say yes or to say no. And make that process as painless as possible.
Yeah. Remove every obstacle to like that, to a decision point.
That's it. And I really saw that as a service. And I started to see that as a service, and I became obsessed with it, man. And that's where I took the principles that I learned on the mission, transformed them into the business world, And that's been very
the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, awesome, man. I so appreciate your time today. I mean, maybe just one last thing. If somebody who's like just starting out in the journey, whatever stage that they're in, but like maybe they don't have money or they don't have a lot of experience, what advice would you give to somebody like that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give them your advice, bro, which is act as if, right? Act as if. And I'm going to go one level deeper, because in the moment when you're in the beginning stages, and we just told you the true capital is relationship capital.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, bro, I flew from Maui to here to spend the day on a podcast with you. And I did that strategically for a reason. It's because of who you are. So
I appreciate
I'm going to give them the advice that I learned from you. And that advice that I learned from you is that you connect with other people. You make those other people, you amplify those other people. That's what you've done from the very, very beginning. You've made me feel, however the system is and however you do it, you've made me feel important. You've made me feel valuable. And you make a lot of people feel like that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
That's what you've done, man. That's what you've done. And so what would I do? If I was them, I would act as if. Act as if, and I would take the light off of what you're trying to accomplish, pour into other people without hesitation, without reserve, knowing that as you do that, it'll come back full force. It'll come back full force.
Amazing advice, man. Just so appreciate your wisdom, and hopefully it'll be like a long friendship down the line. Just like a genuine guy, amazing team, amazing accomplishments. But thank you so much for being on the podcast today, man.
Can I share one more thing?
Sure, please.
Your shirt, right? This is Aloha, and I know you probably already know this, but maybe a lot of your listeners don't. But that's how you do what I just talked about is Aloha. Alo means to see, and ha is breath of life. And so when I say aloha, and I know when you say aloha, it's not hello, goodbye. It's, dude, I see the God in you. I see the greatness in you. And it's reciprocal. I know that you see it in me. And I believe that you see it in me. I believe it. I have to believe it, because if I don't believe it, then I'm going to have reservation with you. What surrounds you is within you. That's Ed Milet quote. It's like what you're experiencing on the outside world is really what you're experiencing internally.
That's so true, yeah.
So I see you, and I know that by seeing you, you will see me. And then if I see you not living up to what I know you can be, and I'm going to breathe life into you. That's what aloha is. And seeing people and the good in people and then breathing life into them at every turn, everything else will take care of itself, man.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you having us here for sure. Hospitality has been great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.